My name is Peter Hensler, 659 170th Avenue. I'm here on behalf of my mom's estate. She lived up on 301 Sunrise. We did talk to the Public Works Committee about her water bills. We were going from an average of like since she passed in August of 23, we're going from like 50 to 60 gallons a month to in November we went to 78,160 gallons. There's no living there. We don't know how it could happen or anything. And like I said at the committee meeting, that's a lot of water. You would see it somewhere, you know. So I'm just here. It's on the agenda. I think 6A. So I just
we will discuss it with you once we get to the
Okay.
agenda if that works.
all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Matt Jorgensen is my name. Should I state my address?
Please.
354 153rd Avenue, Somerset. My name is Matt Jorgensen. I'm a board member with Somerset Youth Hockey Association. We have a request to make of the village that would greatly assist with the renovation that we're raising money for. Would the board consider allowing us 10 minutes if we committed to staying within that time frame?
I have no objection.
I have no objection. I just wouldn't want to do anything without having public input beforehand about giving up village park, village land.
Certainly. Certainly. Well, thank you for that.
Go ahead.
Thank you for the time. I'll try to keep my remarks brief, and I apologize if it sounds like my remarks are read because they're going to be. I want to make sure we stay within the time. Somerset Ice Arena was constructed 29 years ago and has not undergone a major renovation since its original construction. Somerset Ice Arena is owned and maintained by Somerset Youth Hockey Association. We are privately funded and receive no financial support from the village or school district. In 2024, Somerset Youth Hockey Association made the decision that it was time to begin a significant renovation to the facility to maintain our competitive edge. Not just our competitiveness on the ice, but our competitiveness in our ability to attract new families to the community and support our continually growing numbers. We have begun a fundraising campaign to pay for renovations and additions that will be completed in 2 phases. Phase 1 includes replacement of the refrigeration unit, also known as the ice plant. It's what keeps the ice frozen. And renovation of the building's existing footprint to allow for future additions, new locker rooms, and expanded entryway and commons area. Phase 2 is a new half-sized sheet of ice, often called a studio rink, a new off-ice training area, and expanded parking. Addressing the insufficient locker room space is priority number 1. Our design includes a new row of locker rooms along the east side of the building, behind the score tower. In addition to the locker rooms, we would like to add 2 rows of parking along the east side of the building. To complete these additions requires us to request a narrow strip of land on the western edge of Veterans Park from the village. The exact dimensions of the requested piece of land are 75 feet wide, and the length ranges between 352 and 423 feet because of the angled shape of the property on the northwest corner of Veterans Park. In addition to the requested piece of land, we would also be grateful if the village would consider allowing access to the north end of the hockey arena property from the end of Hud Street. We understand that access to the property from Hud Street will be a concern of the homeowners in that area. We will construct a privacy fence to help mitigate headlights from flashing across people's homes. We expect, though, that our existing southern entrance will remain the primary entrance used by our members, but the access from Hud Street has 2 distinct advantages. The first is safety. Unlike most ice arenas, at Somerset Ice Arena, vehicles enter from the front of the lot and pass in front of the entrance before finding parking. This creates an increasing safety concern as our numbers continue to increase, and it can also be very icy in that area. The second advantage of the Hud Street access is that it will provide an alternate access to the facility during amphitheater concerts that should continue to increase. We are already in the process of rescheduling a number of games for our largest summer tournament that happened to fall on the same day as a concert. With the alternate access, holding the games may just be possible. We are not asking for any money, just some land and one additional access to the property. The donations of land by the village specifically offer these benefits to the village. Increased numbers of visiting teams as a result of our expansions will increase traffic to local businesses such as restaurants and gas stations. The donation of land, which is about 2/3 of an acre, is less land for the village to maintain. The additional parking on the east side of the building can be enjoyed by residents using the basketball and pickleball courts. Most importantly, competitive facilities help draw people to our community who are considering moving out of the metro. This increases our tax base. When my wife and I first started looking at Somerset and considering moving here, I drove over to Somerset myself to take a look. The first thing I wanted to see was the school, and the second thing I wanted to see was the ice arena. It was that important to us. I'd now like to invite Stacy Belil, a longtime Somerset Hockey Board member and a middle school teacher, to share a few thoughts, and then I'd be happy to take any questions.
As Matt said, my name is Stacy Belil. I'm a lifelong Somerset resident. A 7th and 8th grade teacher here at Somerset Middle School. I have one son, Malachi, who's now a freshman at UW Stout. He attended Somerset schools growing up and spent 14 years as part of the Somerset Youth Hockey Association in our high school team. When he started with the Try Hockey for Free program, I think there was 11 kids in it. When I left the association last year in 2024, we have an average of, I'd say, 50 to 60 kids involved in Try Hockey for Free. We had one squirt team when he was a second grader. We now have 3 in addition to 2 U10 girls teams. We have 2 teams at Pee Wee Bantam levels. Our association is growing. But what I want to talk to you about as well is our community involvement, which I think that which I know when I was on the board was one of our main focuses, being involved in the community and being a part of it. We, as Matt said, we host tournaments. We have a high school home tournament each season. Each one of our teams hosts a home tournament, which brings people, we have teams that come every year from Iowa, from Minnesota, from all over Wisconsin to come here. I know that I have told probably hundreds of hockey moms to head out to the Legion for a really good burger and to sit by the fireplace in between games. We send them downtown. We are always very sure to promote our local restaurants and downtown areas when we have tournaments. We host a high school Thanksgiving tournament each year. And I think we're so good at hosting playoffs that there's 2 playoff games going up at the rink tonight. And that's been happening for probably the last 4 or 5 years for high school hockey, which brings lots of people into town. We host Santa at the rink every year where families can come skate for free, visit with Santa, get milk and cookies. They can purchase a dinner. So that's become like a tradition for a lot of families, I think, in Somerset. We have made a very concentrated, concerted effort to host open skates. We have a Learn to Skate for Free program every fall that has taught hundreds of kids to skate. We're part of the Chamber of Commerce. We've made every effort to make ourselves and the association a part of the Somerset community. SYHA always has a float in the Pea Soup Days parade, and our Freezy Pops are very world famous. And like I said, during tournaments, we are always encouraging visitors to go eat downtown, to visit our downtown restaurants. We also run the Blaze AAA hockey program out of the rink. That involves around 350 skaters, spring through fall. And those kids are coming from Western Wisconsin and Minnesota. There are 2 Blaze tournaments every year at the rink, which brings hundreds of people to town. If you know anything about hockey, the kids always have to be there for at least an hour before the game. So parents are always looking for something to do. And when their kids have practice every night during the week, a lot of people tend to stay in town when they're at their practices. As Matt said, the rink is 29 years old, I believe, and it needs some upgrades, but we need more space. We, like I said, really made an effort to become part of the Somerset community. I never thought I'd be a hockey mom ever in my life. I always said no to it, but it's one of the best things that I've ever done. It's one of the best things that I've ever been a part of. It is a group of people that care about this community. And there's always going to be some give and take when there's growth. But I think what I'm seeing is a lot of positives out of it and a lot of positive growth. So I really look forward to seeing the association continue to grow and bring families in this community together. So thanks for your time.
Thank you very much, Stacy. And I and the other committee members who are working on this would be available through phone or email or personal meeting at any time to answer any questions that you might have. But I'd be happy to answer any right now if there were any.
Matt, for a public comment, we don't do the question and answer
Okay,
now, but once
perfect.
we get to it on the agenda.
Perfect.
Ask
Thank
any questions.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the time.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Sandy Nimick. My husband Brad and I live at 610 Hud Street. And this just came to our attention actually today. And so, first of all, we're a little upset that there was no previous contact with people that live in that area. And we certainly are not against the Hockey Association at all. I said, we lived there 29 years ago when the first hockey rink was built. And we dealt with problems at that point in time as well, because once again, the Hockey Association at that point in time wanted to take parkland and they wanted to put in their outdoor rink in the park. And we fought that as homeowners because we did not want an outdoor hockey rink right across the street from our house and take parkland beside. And the thing is that I feel in Somerset that the parkland is sacred. We have used that park forever, and it is used very frequently by other members of our community. So to take parkland that we already have designated as parkland, we'll never get it back. And I feel that's a discredit to the community and to the people that live here and to the people that use parks. I don't know that there's other options, and I certainly am not happy to hear about an access off of Hud Street at all. I said, like I said, we've lived in that house for 38 years. We have lived on a dead end road. We love it. And not that it can't be opened up, and at one time they talked about developing and I get that. But for an access off of HUD to the hockey rink, I would be strongly opposed to that. And I don't think that I would be the only person that lives in that area that would feel that way. So I was a little surprised to see it be a discussion and possible approval item on the agenda already without any prior knowledge or any communication with the people that live there. So I, just wanted to state that at the time. And I don't, like I said, I would love to see a plan of how much land they're looking at taking. We don't know what that looks like. Like I said, the access off Hud Street is definitely a concern. So wanted to bring it to your attention as well. Thank you.
Sandy. Anyone else for public comment?
Hi, my name is Ryan Vanas. I just wanted to make sure I was on the March meeting agenda. I walked back in the property there again, and I can float a boat still. So we had not as much snow as we averagely do. And it's gonna continue to be an issue for me if we can't get this solved.
Yeah, the village attorney wasn't able to make tonight's meeting since this meeting got moved because of the primary election, or spring election. But we will put it on for the next agenda. And I did share the email from the village attorney? I will send you what his findings were before the next
Okay.
meeting.
That sounds good.
All right,
Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment? Going once, going twice? Approval of agenda?
Caleb Garn, make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Donnie Kern, second.
Further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
For the consent agenda,
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
there's first and second, and then just for further discussion, I don't really want to pull it out, but Bob, if you could just touch on the Latitude 45 Development Task Order, just so all of the board that's not on the Public Works Committee and anybody listening is
Sure.
aware of it.
Yeah, originally, when we went through the design scoping of this, there was the understanding that this would be a triple stage pump system, and instead they added just two, which at full build out, we'll need 3 pumps for that lift station. So we're having them add that capability now, so we can just drop a pump versus digging up and bypassing a lot of waste. So it's practical to do that now. It'll cost, I mean, $100,000 or more if we did that post construction. So looking into the future, because when that third pump's gonna be needed, that's at full build out, our property in our tip five.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. New business, discussion possible approval, request for sewer credit for 301 Sunrise Drive. Donnie, if you wanna handle this one?
Brought to our public works attention. Gentleman spoke on it here tonight, about, in the packet here, you have a bill, showing 78,160 gallons of usage, between 10:15 and 10:24, and nobody was in the house. The Public Works Committee has listened to the comments and reviewed the matter and made a recommendation to reimburse the sewer credit of $947.67. And that's what I'm proposing to make a motion here tonight for, to reimburse that credit amount. Per our ordinance, we have a one-time opportunity to do that. And it was clarified that that would not, for each landowner, if they have a situation like this, we put an ordinance in place a couple of years ago to allow for this credit to happen as a one-time credit. So anybody out there, if you ever had that opportunity or needed that opportunity, you could ask for it and be able to receive it. And that's why we're going forward with that. But that amount would not be held to the next new landowner. This is for the previous landowner. So
Do we know if that water was lost somewhere? Do we know if it's a faulty meter? Have we identified?
We know it's not a faulty meter, we just don't have any knowledge of what exactly happened there. It was a toilet is normally a big culprit, yeah, nobody's been there. Peter was, taking care of the house, probably, where did he go? Right there.
Filling pools?
Intermittently, and.
Yeah.
So, when nobody's there and something happens and they don't know, we don't know. It's kind of a strange thing, but it is a lot of water, so.
Peter, there was nothing coming up from the foundation or outside that you could see. It was just,
No, someone at the city contacted my brother, and he contacted me and asked, where are you? Can you get down there? I was on my way home from work, so we both sped home and checked on it. We were expecting a full basement, and there was nothing.
and there's no way to check the sewer usage to see if there was a.
So,
Are you fine with the amount of
Yeah.
reimbursement that Donnie described?
Yep.
That being said, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to issue the credit, approve the credit recommended by the Public Works Committee, $947.67.
Second.
First and second, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Special possible approval, TID 5 lift station and utility extension, change order number 1.
This was not brought to Public Works, but we agreed that we would bring it to the full board, it'd be just because of the timing. You want to touch base on this a little bit on this, or?
Definitely might have crisscrossed what I was, oh, so. I'll retract what I said about your previous question, Mike. That was for observation and construction management from MSA, that original question. This one's the change for the lift station. To add the third pump. Well, the first one's observation that will get billed back to the developer, but we need authorization from the board for MSA to do that. It's like every other project. And this one is referencing the lift station and adding that third pump. So my apologies on that.
I believe that latitude 45 tax order too, we did approve it, but it is going to be basically a pass through it's not going to be borne to the residents or the taxpayers. It's going to be passed through to the developer for that amount to handle that task.
Thank you.
Caleb Garn make a motion to approve TID 5 lift station and utility extension change order number 1.
In the amount of,
Right here.
17.
$17,772.
Johnny Curtin, second.
First and second, any further discussion?
Just a point of order, Mr. Chairman, that is going to eventually save us money long-term by getting this done now versus down the road if we had needed that additional significant cost increase to put it in at that point in time.
All in favor? Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And we're gonna run C and G together. Josh can explain it here. Discussion possible approval, financing TID 5 and TID 6 incentives. And I'm just gonna read G as one part of it. Because it'll be the initial resolution of the Village of Somerset, Wisconsin relating to the issuance of general obligation promissory notes in the amount not to exceed $1,460,000 to finance projects in the village tax increment district number 6.
All right, well, thanks for having me. Josh Lowe again from Ellers, the village's municipal financial advisor. So coming up this year, we're going to have payments due to developers for various work going on in the tax districts. TID 6 is the main one that we're going to focus on tonight because they're actually ready to get paid. TID 5 is going to happen sometime in the summer. So we can go ahead and talk about TID 6 now, and then I'll just touch on 5 as we go through towards the end. So the main piece for TID 6, we actually have a different deck that I sent Andrea earlier today.
Tasia.
No, but I sent it to Andrea.
Oh.
Yeah.
Not sure if it's stuff in here. I might not have it pulled, let me look.
Otherwise, are you able to email it to her right now?
Yeah.
I won't be able to pull it up to present.
Otherwise, you probably send it to me and I can just,
This is February 2025 proposal.
Yep. That's right. All right, Tasia, I sent it to you. Mike, you have it as well. And you guys have it in your hands. That's the most important one. So folks in the audience want to follow along. So TID 6, Capstone / Pine Vale.
Their development's doing very well. The development agreement itself requires that they put in the infrastructure and then the village will reimburse them for their work they've already done. So this includes street, water, sewer, everything you associate with infrastructure. They are working on that. I think it's been completed and they're going to start reimbursement within the next couple of months. So we're trying to get this financing ready. So by the time they actually deed it back to the village, you've accepted it, and they'll be ready for their reimbursement at that time. So that's really one of the keys here for the timing piece. The village actually has to accept it from them after they've done their work. I think there's 60 days for you to review it and take it through before we are actually going to pay them anything. And the amount that we're looking for is $1,379,193. That's pulled directly from the developers agreement that was signed early last year, I suppose. So we're on page 3 now.
Just, if you can, just a quick, for anybody who wants to read that.
Slow down a little bit.
That's what you just recapped on.
Yep.
1,379,000 for TID 6.
So in the developers agreement that was signed, the way we're gonna do it is reimburse them all at one time for this rather than a pay-as-you-go structure. Best vehicle to finance this is gonna be through an issuance of general obligation promissory notes through the securities. So this won't be a local bank loan or a state trust fund loan. We did a state trust fund loan last year for the TID 5. So these are all different options and they all kind of have a different flavor. So the best one for this one is gonna be for securities. So this is when we go to the public market, the securities market, underwriters will buy the bids and then they sell them back to their individual retail customers. So there are some folks who have mutual funds or things like that. There are probably some municipal bonds somewhere. It's a very safe option. That's kind of how that market works. So like I mentioned, not like a local bank that will bid on this and hold this in their portfolio or a state trust fund loan that's run through the state of Wisconsin, right? The nice thing about securities is that most importantly, something you guys don't care about, it's the lowest rates, usually interest rates of all of those 3 options. So that's a very important thing. Your cost of financing is going to be the lowest. We can go out for 20 years. So even though this district is already a couple of years in advance, so we'll only be able to be 19 for this, because that's the end of the life for tax credit district number 6. It's the longest term you can go out for those other ones. Local banks usually want to be limited to 10 years. And state trust fund loan, you can go up to 20, but then the current rate for that is 6.25%. So we don't think you'll be.
What are we looking at around that?
Next page, 4.5.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
so quite a bit lower. It really wouldn't make any sense to do 20 years financing for what you guys are talking about at 6.25%. So based on all those factors, really securities is going to be our recommendation. So the next page is the estimated debt service schedule. So if we went out right now and did for the 1.37 for project costs, this is roughly what it would look like, the structure. What you're seeing on there, you'll notice there are no principal payments for the first 2 years. So we've done that for interest only for the first 2 years to make sure we're matching up with the TID 6 cash flow. Since it's still an early district and they've only done one set of housing there that was done next year, 2026 is going to be the first year that they're receiving revenues for that. So that's not enough to cover principal and interest for the first set of payments as you see it there. So we knock the principal down, push that down throughout the structure. So we're doing that to match your revenues that are coming in from the construction they've already done. And we'll probably wind up advancing some funds that they have purchased. The revenues that the village already has from the property acquisition that they did in 2023 for the development itself. Okay, so we do have another bank of funds that are used for this. And this all flows entirely with the project plan that we established in 2023. This is tying basically exactly the way that we anticipated it at that time. So we're in good shape. Nothing's really deviating from that schedule. The total borrowing cost is just a little bit over 1.4 million. So the difference between the project costs and that amount are our normal cost of issuances, financing fees, Eller's work, bond counsel, your third-party attorney that gives you a legal opinion, all those kind of things, the rating agency fees, and underwriters counsel. So even though you wind up borrowing more, all of that is compensated by the much lower rates that you wind up getting by doing securities rather than a bank loan or a state trust fund loan. Okay. And critically important, the projected interest rate is kind of a blend of all of those from top to bottom. That's what we in the finance industry call the true interest rate, true interest cost is 4.51%. So obviously a lot better than you're going to get from the 6.25% from the state. And it really wouldn't work for bank financing. They wouldn't even be able to be 4.5 anyway. That's probably going to be at least 5%. And they wouldn't do 20 years. So it's not even really an option to people consider.
Jeff, we were really conservative on these numbers and they're building at probably double the rate of we anticipated. Will that extra money from the TID go to pay this down sooner?
Probably in the back end. I think that's what are we in 2025 now. So the first bonds you'll be able to call and prepay will be in 2034. If we were going to bump that up and want to be done faster, you pay a price for higher interest rates to do that. Usually investors want to make sure that their investments are sure for a longer period of time. So the farther you push up that prepayment feature, you expect to pay more for each one of those years that it's non-callable.
Keep in mind, we're gonna be borrowing from another fund that we probably would wanna pay back first, and that's the proceeds from the original sale of the property.
That's right.
That would be wanted to get paid back before we get to this portion anyways.
Those are both great points. So if we go to the next page, you'll see the full cash flow for the district. Hopefully it'll show up there a little bit. Very faint for folks in the audience, so I think we don't have a larger copy for everyone. But the two things you'll notice there, Donnie, to your point, the advance repayments in the blue, right there where it says advance repayments, those actually start happening in 2028 and 2029. So before we even get to prepayment options anyway, that would be pretty aggressive if we were going to start paying off bonds. And if this thing, TID 6, we're going to go completely gangbusters on us, like that would be, we'd all be having high fives about it if that was the way that's going to play out. But on the left-hand side, the new valuation, starting in revenue 2026. So that actually includes construction that was done in 2024. This is the way we receive monies from tax increment districts and their cash flows. So anything that's constructed one year gets valued the next year, and we start to actually receive revenue from that the next year. So when you receive revenues in 2026, that's actually due to partial construction of homes last year in 2024. And so as Mike mentioned, we did a really conservative projection on the development here. Feel free, I'm just rattling off and talking. So if you guys want me to slow down or have questions, feel free to jump in as needed. Since last year was a partial construction and they're expected to ramp up between now and then, the entire development is supposed to have 135 homes. And that was the way that their initial forecast went. So for that number you see under new valuation, it was 6 homes the first year, I think 11 homes for each year after that until 2031. And there's still additional phases that are likely to be projected. But as you can see, if you scroll a little bit over to the right of the cash flow, your annual balances are positive every year and going into very large cumulative balances like the savings account for the district all the way on the right. And since you're never in a negative in any one of those years, and there's only likely to be more development coming over rather than less, we feel like this is really in great shape for TID 6. So I'm happy this is.
I think it's important too to highlight the fact that the annual projections of 6 homes, the first year, 11 homes, the second year, there's already 9 in, and I think there's 3 more already out there. So what is it total of?
I think there's 13 shells up there.
Total shells? So we're already kind of ahead of the game a little bit. And the valuations that were originally coming in were very conservative as to what houses that are being put up. So we're gonna be much higher than where we're at right now, and that's all in a positive note.
Yep, only positive. And the last great thing that we have to say is even if that didn't happen, even if development shut down right now, in the development agreement, they've already pledged to make shortfall payments to help you meet the principal and interest that's outstanding here. So even if the development doesn't occur on that schedule, they will cut you checks to make sure that you're made whole, all right, on the back end. So that's already been agreed to. Any other questions? I mean, that's really like the big picture. I mean, we should always end on the cash flow. That's really what brings the whole piece together.
Just to cover the timeline there,
Yep, that's all we've got. So today's a pre-sale meeting and approval of the initial resolutions. We'll take action on that in a little bit. And this is really just setting forth between now and the time for closing in early May. So after tonight, this is really your formal ability to say, Josh Ellers, village staff, go forth, please start working on this transaction. So over the next couple of weeks, we'll start getting our documents together, pulling together the preliminary official statement. That's really like the summary of the transaction that investors and underwriters will react to give you and understand like what the credit is, what we're asking, the description of the project, the village's finances, the economy, the governance structure, all those kind of things. This is, if you were an investment, this is the document that you look through to figure out if this is where you're going to park your money, right? So that's going to happen over the next couple of weeks. We'll start working on those drafts. A few more weeks from now, we'll engage the rating agency, Moody's, to do the rating call, right? So that's really, Moody's is a third-party company. We give them a fee to rate the debt, right? So most recently in 2023, you guys were rated A1 by Moody's, which is a fine rating for the size of the community of Somerset, right? We wouldn't expect anything too much higher or lower than that. That's right about where you should be. You guys are well run. We're gonna do that same process again, and hopefully they'll affirm the A1 rating. Hopefully you'll get an upgrade, actually, I should say. I don't really see, there's no reason to downgrade at this point. I would be pretty surprised by that. But I don't know, that will be their call. So that will be a time when we'll get on the phone with them. We'll go through all of your finances, what's your budget like, tell me about your tax increment districts, all those pieces moving forward. We'll work with Bob and Andrea to really position you guys in the best light. The same way we always have. That's what it's always happened. We'll work with bond counsel to make sure that our OS, the official statement and everything is tied together. Got all the T's crossed and all the I's dotted. So the final will get to April 15th to sell the debt. We'll come back to you guys and seek your approval for that. And you'll accept bids and then close in May. The only change to this is the speed at which we actually receive and accept the infrastructure and whenever that happens and they actually bill us. So as we're moving on, if we figure out like we're getting to early April and figure out it's not gonna happen, we don't wanna pay them before they're due, we can just push this back.
Bob, where are we at with, there's a punch list out on there yet, and that's, they know what they need to do, and I think they're waiting till spring.
Yep.
To make those final deals before they wanna turn it over.
Correct.
So we're looking 30, 60, probably May,
Yeah.
before they would get the punch list done.
Yeah.
And then we'd be 60 days from then,
Yes, I think so. It's like when.
60 or 90, I can't
I
remember.
thought it was 60. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it never really hurts if we borrow early, obviously they're gonna wanna get paid as soon as they can. If we're sitting on it for a month or something, earning interest, not a big deal. So we'll look to you guys to give us direction on when you really want go time for that. But, as we get closer to April and it actually winds up being the time, you can just let us know. I mean, we've got 2 months to figure that kind of stuff out as we work through the calendar.
So that was a discussion for getting us up to speed for TID 5. So then what we'll be working on is a discussion, possible approval for the initial resolution in the village of Somerset relating to the issuance of general obligation promissory notes in the amount not to exceed 1.46 million to finance projects in the village's tax incremental district number 6.
Tasia, we got a resolution number for that?
Yeah,
or-
it's 2025-02.
Any other questions for me?
It's a very nice presentation.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution 2025-02, resolving the Board of Trustees to be authorized to issue direct issuance of debt and sale of general obligation promissory notes series 2025A in the amount not to exceed $1,460,000.
Braincom, second. First and a second, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thanks, guys. See you in a few weeks.
Thanks, Jeff.
Discussion possible approval, 180th Street and Parent Street annexation. Went through our joint committee or joint board with the town and the village, but the township hasn't turned over the right of way, is that correct? Well,
Yeah, so the jurisdiction has been transferred. However, if the will of the board is for us to do the maintenance on that road and not collect state aid, then we can leave that agreement as it is. If you wish to get the road aid, the annexation would have to come from the town and they would have to agree to do that.
So the annexation part of it is that they'd be receiving the state aid and we'd be doing the maintenance on it? Is that for 1 year or is that something that
Definitely.
indefinitely? Because I do believe that the board, the town board was also in agreement with, the annexation. They just haven't done the paperwork yet on it, right?
I'm not aware of that being part of the conversation.
Yeah, that was what we had all agreed to, it's just really, we need to reach out to the board, the town, because I believe Jerry just needs to take care of that, and I know ladies in the back, I don't want to pick on you, but I think that's kind of the basis of that, isn't it?
You guys were gonna leave it all, and then just when we had everything collected, you were just gonna sign off.
Right, and I believe that was for this year, right? Then
As
once you,
soon as you're done, we're ready to sign on.
Okay.
As far as I know, that's what was discussed, and as
Yeah.
as state vote aid on that. From here on out, you guys will collect all that, you guys will get it.
So maybe Bob, if you gather the information, on what needs to be the paperwork for the annexation, and then Lenny, if we can put it on your next town board.
Or as soon as you guys have all the papers in order, and we have to sign, we're ready. That was the agreement.
I think it's just a formality to get to you guys, once we got it taken care of on our end. So that was kind of my understanding from our joint meetings.
Great.
We need a motion.
I think it is, we already kind of took care of it as a joint board and each one independently. And it's just a matter of the formality of maybe us getting a hold of the town and getting that taken care of to sign everything off and getting that transfer done.
Discussion possible approval right of way for acquisition for multi-use trail project. Bob, you want to touch on this?
Sure will.
Mike,
So,
would you stop sharing screen?
Oh, yes, thank you.
so as you're all aware, we're doing a pretty substantial multi-use trail connection and extension project that was, we were recipient of about 1.3 million, which is a federal grant. When you get a federal grant, you gotta follow all the federal parameters and that in turn makes us have to acquire some real estate on the right of way because there's regulations on speed and how far away multi-use trails can be from certain speed limits. So to push that into some properties. It's not a lot of property. And what we do is part of being in following the grant guidelines is we need a third party to contact the property owners that are impacted, negotiate with them, and then they come back to the village with a negotiated price, which is in the packet tonight. The village cannot make contact with the property owners. The property owners can contact me, but I cannot go out and contact the property owners to coerce them or talk them into this whatsoever. So I have been contacted by a few property owners that really weren't on board with this, and I think through our conversations, they're more receptive to it now. It's a benefit that they're getting paid, so that helps. But what we need next as far as moving the project forward is the village being okay with the numbers that are presented. And if you're not, and you want to negotiate, you're able to do that on any one of these. So, but what you have in front of you is fair market or property around the Somerset area. So they do go out and do appraisals for like property on streets that are at 45, or homes that are at 45 miles an hour and 25 and 35 miles an hour, or whatever. And then they generate a fair market. And
Bob, this all has to be voluntary at this point, right? Because before, it was sort of like, it's in the right of way, it belongs to the village, but state law changed since then, and
We just need more right away. So that's what this is asking is, you know, we need 3 more feet into your property, which now gets us out of the right of way. So we're trying to acquire more.
and what if people say no?
We cannot condemn. So there's no type.
So maybe going from one side of Churchill to the other, to back to the other, depending on,
Well, the one thing you can do is pull portions of that out of the project and we can go back and put a sidewalk in. And I've informed, you know, we're not gonna deadhead a trail, you know, at your property and then start it again. We'll probably abandon that and then you'll probably see a sidewalk that'll fit within the right of way. And there's, well, so we're gonna have a walking path no matter what. I said, most likely, but I can't guarantee you that. So it's really, some are asking just for privacy fencing, and I said, I don't think the village would have an issue, you know, supplying 100-foot fence. Just protect, it makes sense for a lot of them that don't have a lot of frontage right now with the road. So that's just the big concern is some of their privacy is gonna be impacted by this, so.
and do we have a third party company to do this?
Right Away Professionals is the company, they're highly recommended. We use Right Away Professionals for the Churchill project as well. That's pretty much what they do. All engineering companies do have a division. Land acquisition and real estate, but
I noticed there's a couple of parcels that are missing on this list. Like 15, 12, are those the holdouts? I'm sorry, 12.
those are gonna be TLE only, and that fee and TLE is temporary access to their property to do grading. But we're not acquiring anything, it's asking permission to enter
So temporary,
access.
temporary limited easement for, it looks like a period of 2 years.
Yes,
So on the total list that you have here, is this everyone that'll make, that we can make the trail, or is there still some work to be done?
no, this is the entire list of anyone that we need to get fee, and that's just the what we call it is fee.
So there is no holdouts then? Everything, you
Nope.
said it's all
There could
voluntary?
be, they haven't gotten this yet, so the board needs to approve before we send anything.
I see what you're saying. So we approve it and they
They
go
say,
talk.
nope,
to
we're
them.
not paying anybody, and that pretty much squashes the project.
Do you know how they reach out? Do they go door to door,
Mail,
mail first?
certainly mail.
Do they, does this fit within our parameters that we had in our budget for
Yes,
this project?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, we
Are
knew
we-
that there would be some acquisition, I think that we had arranged between, I think, 80 and $120,000.
Yes, okay.
So we're fitting right at that lower end at 81,300. And there might be an off chance some of these property owners say, well, I don't want any money from you. We also have mortgages that might not sign off on some of this, so there's another whole level that the property owner might
Preliminary.
agree to it, but the mortgage company might say, you're not
So they'd
selling
have to change the deed.
any.
But preliminary, you need to have this approved by the board before the next process will be.
So will everybody's property have to get resurveyed then if they're gonna have to change the deed?
But there's a plan out there now with the changes that are made.
You just adopt the plot.
The plan's done. Now, somebody doesn't agree, the plan's gonna have to change, so it's a moving document.
This could change too, hence negotiations with the property owners, right? This is just the preliminary on the basis of what the,
Yep, you could have somebody come back, say $100,000, I want $1 million,
well, the numbers seem to make sense
I
to
don't want
me.
any, I'm gonna donate it and just do it. So there's multiple things that could be thrown at us on this one.
What they're looking for, and the numbers, everything, I'd be willing to make a motion to approve, this preliminary nominal payment parcel report. To propose to the landowners,
Who put the total amount in there?
total amount of $81,300.
Brent Crown second.
First and second, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I hope that it's positive for everybody. Nobody likes to lose land, I get it.
Well, everyone wants multi-use trails, nobody wants them in front of their property.
Right. Discussion possible approval of Somerset Youth Hockey Association land use allocation of Veterans Park on the western border.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move to table this matter. I too, it just kind of come up on this. I need to get more information on it. I do believe that the rest of owners and stuff in that area, I know we had talked about potentially putting a dog park in that area, and it's met by some significant, very passionate people about that park. I think that we should table that matter until we have some more discussion. I do have, once the motion's been properly seconded in discussion, I do have a question on, but I'd like to table that for the time being.
First and a second, discussion.
The one question I do have is, what's the, we have two separate things going on here. We have one is access of HUD into the property, and the second one is donating property from the village to the association. So what I'm saying is that land use and allocation of veterans, that's what I'm tabling. The issue with HUD, that would be like a public works issue, and I think you probably would want to go through public works on that, because if that's a matter of hooking up HUD or something into that property, that's two separate issues. The parks in itself, I'm not necessarily opposed to it parking wise, but I got some questions. If you would be taking out a loan to put the parking lot in, then would that be then on the hook for that land be utilized and put a lien on for that parking lot?
We don't intend to borrow any money for that,
Okay.
for that project
Okay.
at this time.
Okay, that was the only question I had.
Yep.
Is that if we were to borrow it or to give it to that it wouldn't be utilized or collateralized for loan purposes?
Not in any way, no. Thank you.
And I think it definitely needs more public input.
Yeah.
Kind of caught us
Understood.
all off guard a little bit.
Understood.
Hey,
And-
Mike, it's EJ here.
Hey, EJ.
Hi, how you doing? I got a question. Where is this road supposed to come through?
They're proposing, it'd be on the backside or east side of the hockey rink now, the very west corner of Vets Park, that would go out towards like where Brad and Sandy Nemec's driveway would be, or Brian Vanassa's house there.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
so EJ's with the amphitheater. Have you guys reached out to Matt Methuen or the amphitheater to see if there's anything you can work out with him? And then EJ, is that even a possibility?
Nobody's contacted us at all. I just found out about this meeting tonight on the agenda.
I think that kind of makes all of us. So our thing is to not do anything too fast or in too much haste. But I think it definitely needs public input and conversations with EJ and the amphitheater and Matt Methuen.
I think also taking a point on this, Mr. Chairman, for discussion purposes, is Mark and us, they donated that land there. And I had to have a conversation with Mark before we were gonna do anything with it, just to make sure that he was okay with anything that we want to make sure that the family was good. They put that's part, the land there for that. So I applaud you looking at it, and ideas are always good to kick around and stuff like that. But again, it's a significant amount of not only land gets close to the park there, but I'd like to get some more input on it myself from some of the other landowners before I hear any more.
Understood.
Can I make one comment on this or no?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, well, the thing is, the coming into the park, using part of the park on the western edge or eastern edge is one thing, but then putting an access road, you're taking more park. because that access road has to be on parkland as well.
One of my thoughts that I had that maybe it could work, maybe it won't, but, I don't think it would be bad for parking. My suggestion would be to not have access, if this does go forward, to not have access off of Hud Street, because the neighbors are gonna show up in full effect, and including her husband, and sent the pit bull down here. But if that was fenced off, and then through a developer's agreement, that the parking lot would get turned over upon completion to the village, where the village park could use it for additional parking as well. That's just a thought.
Well, once again, too, there used to be access off of Spring Street to the hockey rink. That's now blocked off. They don't go in that way at all, but there was access. at
There
one
was
time.
access. It
Yeah.
was given access through the amphitheater, but they
Yep,
took that
but I
back
mean,
and they
that's,
fenced everything off.
that may be worth a conversation
Yeah.
again. Going that route.
Matt, EJ, are you okay if I give you Matt's number and vice versa?
Yeah, that's fine. And just so everybody knows, if you come in, there is an easement there. And if you come in by the bank, the hockey does have access to come in by the bank and go all the way to the hockey arena.
Correct.
They actually pay for upgrade on the road. They split it with us just on that little section there.
Right.
So that's, we have to shut that road down because from that point all the way down to Spring Street, it's not a winter road. It's only like, the blacktop's only like 3/4 of an inch thick. We'd have to redo it every year. So that's why we shut the road off in the winter months, mostly towards the spring. So,
Okay, I'll work with Matt and exchange numbers for you gentlemen.
okay, sounds good, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you.
And if you don't mind, if the board's, okay with me working with them on alternative access points, because I do have some other ideas that might on the south side of, and I don't know, EJ, where you put the fence up to the gate. If we were to consider some type of access point there, so it'd be coming in on top of your parking lot there.
Yeah, well, so there again, where that road comes in, it's kind of that imaginary road where we put the gate.
Yeah.
Actually, Mark Vanas owns that, so you'd have to talk to Mark there. But then to get onto your property, you still got to cross our property. So obviously, we do not want to lose any parking. So the road would have to come, if you did that, come through there, you'd have to turn a little bit to get onto the hockey parking, on the hockey property.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we could, figure something out. It was just kind of a shock that we weren't notified or nothing for this meeting, so, or before. So,
It's the beginning of the conversation.
yep, okay. Okay. I think that's all I gotta say, unless somebody's got something for me.
Thanks, Ethan.
Okay.
I think when everybody like minds, get together, you'll be able to talk it through and figure out everything. So I think Bob, everybody talking together, to get it figured out. Yeah.
Just a question, so, how does it move forward? Like, what's the next action item for the hockey association? Do we need to come back in a month and say, here's our new plan based on our discussion with these folks, or
Yeah,
how do we proceed?
I think we would leave it to between Bob and Matt and EJ at this point, and then it would probably have to go through parks. It would have to go through, if you do come up with something, you have to go through the planning commission. So it's very early stages. It's not like you could come in,
As much as I think.
come in tonight and just go, yeah, get this approved.
I mean, at the planning commission, can you get some of the people in the town to actually be able to get there to
And
talk about it? I think that's the most important.
and we'd want to get public notice out there for people to come in and voice their opinion.
I think my suggestion is the more buy-in by everybody, more agreement, the better off you are, because everybody's got to live with everybody when it's all said and done, right? So we're all neighbors, and I think, once you come up and say, yeah, we talked to these guys and everybody, is hopefully gonna, come to an agreement that everybody's beneficial. I don't see this board standing in the way of, something that makes sense by all the neighbors.
Yeah, and ultimately, it's not like people don't wanna give up land that they already own, like the village doesn't wanna give up more village park space, so what could be mutually beneficial? Maybe you guys design the parking lot and it works for the entire public to use the village park and you turn it over into a developer's agreement or something like that, so
Right.
you guys benefit and the village benefits. And then, try to remove the access from Hud Street, 'cause you should have seen, there was more people in this boardroom, when we were gonna put in a small dog park that one or two people might use a week, it was packed. So,
Well, it was packed when they talked about putting in the outdoor rink in there 29 years ago. too.
Sure.
That was a big issue
Yeah.
at that time too,
they live on a dead end street right now and
across from a park.
Yeah.
they're,
Thank you. We're very open to discussing different access points. Absolutely. The biggest request from us is that relatively narrow strip of land along the western edge of the property. Like I said, we can't expand in the other direction. We already have our main parking there. To construct the new locker rooms along the eastern side, we started bumping up against, what's the word, tolerances on the edge of the property. Setbacks, thank you. We're already bumping up against those setbacks. Ideally, we'd have a little bit of additional parking in the back.
looks like about 30 or so spaces, I didn't count them, but.
Yeah, perhaps two rows of parking, maybe 15 to 20 spaces long or something like that. Yep, yeah, and like I said, it could be enjoyed by people using the pickleball courts and things like that. It'd be a short walk. So. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And then, will you exchange numbers with? Bob,
Absolutely.
And then, Bob, will you give me EJ's number as well?
They notify me.
Sure, on this.
Then would you consider amendment to your motion with some form of public hearing?
We table it, it can come up at any time.
Yeah.
We don't need that necessarily.
First and a second, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Discussion, possible approval, clerk resignation and hiring process. Unfortunately, Tasia's not gonna be with us after March 7th, so it kind of came fairly quickly. And so it didn't meet the 24-hour guidelines for putting it on the agenda. Andrea spoke to our village attorney and said basically it's within like a 2-hour emergency type thing. It's not in closed session, so this isn't a personnel issue, but it's to discuss how we can move forward quickly to be able to get out job postings to get her position filled as soon as possible. Bob, were you able to, I took the old postings from before.
They're in the printer.
Sorry. I noticed on the last one, it was posted April 24th, and by May 4th, it was already our deadline. So I thought, if you guys can, there's 2 different versions that I put together.
Well, do we have to do anything with accepting the resignation of the clerk or, because that was just the email that came to us yesterday? Pardon?
Yesterday.
I got it yesterday.
So there's 2 versions. We have 2 versions. Yeah. Okay. The version.
Well, I'd like to thank you for your service and everything, and we wish you could stick around, but we wish you well too into the future, and hope you find what you're looking for. I think we need to start the process sooner than later. We have an election coming right around the corner. And that's one of the most important skilled processes we need is to have a clerk in there to fill that election clerk position. So do we need a motion to that effect, or that we can start getting these out?
I would, look through it, proofread it, see if everything makes sense. Did you see the versions? You can look through it and make sure that's exactly what you've been doing the last nearly 2 years. Fantastic. And then it's a matter of coming up with a plan. Last time we did the search, the village put it out on social media sites, put it out on our website, posted it. I did a $50 Indeed ad on my own, which got, 5 really good candidates. So.
We're deciding here which job description we're gonna go with, out of these two, is that what we're saying?
I would, yeah, see if we can kind of approve something tonight.
We can attach the current job description. That's reflective of the duties.
Yeah, and then just want to make it sound like an ad and put it here. And then if you guys would agree with the application and resume due by March 17th, that gives 2.5 weeks at least, and then if they trickle in or whatever, we can extend it, but at least we're kind of see what we can get by March 17th.
I'd say the 14th, so we can act on it by the 17th.
14th is a Friday.
Yes. Anybody's opposed to that?
I'm not. Anybody else fine with Friday the 14th?
That would give us 2 weeks, full weeks. We'd have till end of Friday to get everything in, and then we could look at it as a the finance personnel committee. Could look at it the following week and make a possible recommendation.
And then I would request, so I don't have to pay for it myself again, I would request that the village do like a paid ad.
Got a motion?
In other words, it's just discussion at this point. A paid ad for like $50 to $100 to help get the information out there so we can get as many qualified candidates as possible. And then another thing is on the last hiring, we had some really good finalists that it might not hurt to reach out and have them submit if they're available to submit their paperwork again.
I know the one works at Richmond already. One of the finalists, she works at Richmond.
Who will get this posted?
Andrea would get it posted and I'll put it on my own Indeed site and get as many as possible as well. So you guys have job posting or locations. The more people that see it,
I'll make a motion that we immediately post for opening of Somerset Village first deputy treasurer. And the posting will be on social medias, website, and amount not to exceed $100 for other applicant sites like Indeed.
second, first and second, any further discussion?
Just the one thing that I'd want to talk about is Amy and Andrea are gonna be taking on the duties once Tasia's gone. So are we gonna be compensating those folks for the extra duties that they're gonna be taking on? That's to the board. I guess that's one of the questions. All of us, that's been budgeted.
The compensation aspect is a part of the actual agenda, although it's a good point that you have on here. I think it's worthy of definitely discussion for a further deal. So it's a good point, but it's not part of this actual agenda item tonight.
Agreed. Yep.
And another thing that was discussed is maybe we see if Felicia Germain, who was really into elections, can come and help out during that election time period. But that would be based off a conversation with Amy and Andrea to see if they need the extra help or what they would want.
So we potentially would need a special meeting or something to bring her back as a temporary employee and then disperse compensations fairly, correct, potentially?
Yeah, if necessary. I don't wanna get the cart in front of the horse here. Let's get the application process going and, we might have some good applicants come in and we could be having a special meeting to hire a new person.
Hopefully. That's all I had. So we had a first and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Alright,
Did we approve her actual resignation?
I haven't even seen a resignation yet, so.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
There's did you write up an official resignation or just the email?
The email is written.
Well, I don't know if I want to accept it yet, because in the handbook, it says up to 4 weeks or whatever, so. Requested, so we might need a little bit of give and take there. And I did hit you with the reverse Uno card.
I did see that.
Yeah, so.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to convene the closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.851D, deliberating and negotiating the purchase of properties, investment of public funds, conducting other specific public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require closed session on Derrick Construction, Olson Sanitation, and Newman Farms.
Second.
First and second.
Were you giving a second to?
You pick, Chris. Roll call.
Chris Rebecca?
Yeah, thank you, Garen, Donnie Kern, aye.
Myself, yes. Brent, dry. And being closed session at 7:15 PM.
Thanks a lot for coming out, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate
guys.
it. Thank you.
Came out of closed session at 7:58 PM with nothing to make a motion on.
Caleb Garn make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, second.
First and second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Meeting is adjourned at 7:59 PM. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.